Peter Doubleday, thank you very much. What a great Wednesday night you have going at this point. And we're going to take just a few minutes, take a look back in time, a trip down memory lane as one of our great fine harness horses says goodbye to the show ring and calls it a career. We'd like to direct your attention to our overhead screen.
These carrots. They'll serve me right next time I look at it. You better not get me started talking about Gothic, because I'll never shut up. I saw him at Shelbyville, a horse show. Lionel was driving him as a 3-year-old. And I thought, that is such a beautiful, beautiful horse. Then I went out to Melissa's barn, and that's where he was at the time, and I saw, I got to have this horse. And so we acquired him, and he is such a sweet horse. I mean, for a stallion and a little old lady like me to be able to drive him, and he lets me show him, and he's just such a wonderful horse. He's just kind, and he also has very, very nice babies. Had to get that in there. But I just love him. He's a very, very special horse. I feel so blessed that I was able to have this horse in my life. And he's had a rough life. He's had a few surgeries. But he come through it. He's come through it strong as ever. And I just love him. I cannot say enough good about this horse. He's kind, he's talented, we've got some wonderful, wonderful babies, and now he deserves to retire, and we will go over the melodies, and hopefully we'll have a lot more nice babies on the ground by him. And so that's my next career with Gothic Revival. A stud at Aurora Farms, and I know he's going to do very, very well over there. Every class I've been into with him has been special. I've really had no disappointments with Gothic. He always does what he's supposed to do, and more than I could possibly ask of him. It's a very sad time for me, really.
Melissa called me up one morning and said that she brought all her yearlings in, and that she separated about 3 of them that she thought was nice. Gothic was the smallest of the 3, but I really liked him because he kept coming towards us. He had that beautiful expression, and in my opinion had such a nice balance to him. The others 2 might have been more neckier, and would have been the obvious 2 to go for, but it was just his charisma that caught my eye. I of course bought him right there and then, took him back to England, and I must say from day one he just loved tack. We were worried initially that he wasn't going to grow, stay kind of punched up as a 2-year-old, and we were just about to geld him, and things happen, you don't have time. We just carried on working him, and then towards the end of his 2-year-old year, when we were going to bring him to America, we just didn't think he was ready enough, and we were going to geld him that winter of his 2-year-old year and bring him as a 3-year-old. I came to America, left him at home, and of course he matured beautifully during that summer. When we got home, he'd grown a hand and actually looked like a stud colt. So it was luck that we didn't geld him. And then of course as a 3-year-old he just fired up. I was going to show him as a 2-year-old. I brought him out of Harrodsburg. I won the 3-year-old at Harrodsburg that year in harness. We weren't quite brave enough to trim, and if you look at the video on the saddle, you really want to trim him. He had such a big blonde mane, I just didn't have the heart to trim it off. And then I won the 3-year-old class at the big Shelbyville show before Louisville. And then we went to Louisville and we won the 3-year-old world championship. And I sold him, a couple of weeks after Louisville to Melissa. So yeah, he won every time out when we had him. but one of my favorite horses of all time. Every day, just an incredible animal. His charisma was what made him. It's like Donna Moore used to say, it's not how high a horse goes, it's how a horse goes high. And it was the way he went and his coolness and his charisma and his way he approached work every day that made him truly a special horse. I had a great track record with him, yeah. My favorite thing was riding him as a 2-year-old. It was just sensational. Probably the one nicest 2-year-olds I've ever ridden.
I actually bred a Gothic Revival on my farm. My mom had, of course, had Revival for William Shatner, and then I had the dam of Gothic Revival, and I just loved Revival, so I thought maybe I can make another Revival. So we crossed his mom with Revival, and we got this beautiful stud colt with 4 white socks and a strip in his face, and he was just amazing. He, out in the field, he just looked like a superstar all the time. He was the one that you looked at. He was the biggest personality. He was just kind of a cool colt always. Lionel Ferrer had been spending the summers back with us in Kentucky when he was living in England, and he would always go through my yearlings and try to pick out one he'd like and who would be the next superstar. And Gothic was kind of pretty much, he was kind of the pick of the herd that year, and he picked him out. So he took him back to England, so I didn't get to see him forever. And when he showed him in 2005, I was actually judging that year. So it was really, really cool to get to see him and to actually judge him and to tie him as a world's champion. So that was probably my proudest moment, was when he was 3 years old and he won the 3-year-old fine harness stallion and gelding class at Louisville, and I got to judge it. He was one of my favorite harness horses I think that I ever had, because his consistency was amazing, his attitude was amazing. Very, very, very kind stallion, and we were able to actually breed him and show him, and that's something that a lot of stallions don't. You can't do that with them. I mean, they just get too steady, and it just kind of helped him. It kind of upped his personality a little bit more and made him more of a show horse. And Revival was that way also. So he was a lot like Revival. And the fact that he could be this grand show horse and then have his amateur owner, Joan Adler, show him, and I had complete 100% trust with him all the time. I never, ever, ever thought he would ever do anything to take advantage of her, and so that's really special with the stallion also. And then he's gone on to be a great breeding stallion too, so it's like kind of come full circle. I've bred mares to him, and he's just a cool horse. He's just really kind of special to me.
He was the first big-time harness horse I'd ever had, and I was excited and nervous at the same time. There was a lot of pressure coming with working him, but he was so easy to get along with. I mean, for a stallion, he was so great to take care of. You never knew he was in the barn. He was easy to work. I mean, he was just effortless for him every day. He was great to be around. It was a great honor to have a horse like him.
I've had Gothic for going on the 4th season. When he came here, he was in top order, and he's allowed me to continue that. And he's had some pretty tremendous wins for Miss Adler, and as a team, Miss Adler and Gothic, we would take him on the horse trailer, and we would set it up as a stall, and we would actually just open the back tailgate so that he could look out, and he would just hang his head over the door and watch everything that's going on, whether we were at the fair in Chevyville or at the fair in Harrodsburg. He just loved watching the rides, and he just stayed nice and relaxed, and when we hooked him, he was ready to go. Gothic is such a carrying horse. He knows when Miss Adler's driving him, and he knows when a professional's driving him, and he takes care of both of us. He'll step up and work just as hard as you ask him to go. He's an outstanding breeding horse. This year we've bred him quite a bit, and hopefully we're going to have a whole lot of nice babies next year.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the in-gate area of Freedom Hall as we welcome for his final show ring appearance, one of the great fine harness horses of modern time, World's Champion Gothic Revival. The World Championship Horse Show honored tonight to present the retirement ceremony of one of our most popular fine harness winners of recent history. World Champion Gothic Revival, as you've heard, bred at Melissa Moore's Sunrise Stables of Versailles. Gothic Revival's show career began back in 2005. Since that time, this horse has been shown 59 times. As Lionel Ferreira told you, 2005 was the year this horse in this building won the 3-year-old Stallion and Gelding Fine Harness World Championship. Beautiful chestnut stallion with a light maiden tail and all the chrome you'd ever want, trimmed in white. 2 years later, back here in Louisville, Freedom Hall, the amateur fine harness reserve world champion. He campaigned at all of the horse shows, some of our industry's biggest and best. Rock Creek, Lexington Junior League, Kentucky Spring Premier, Kentucky Fall Classic, Shelbyville, Harrodsburg, Lawrenceburg. Enjoy a presentation by Joan Adler of her favorite horse of all time, the beautiful stallion, Gothic Revival. Many people gather in center ring tonight that have played a part in Gothic's life. Joan Adler would like to take this opportunity to thank her husband, Charlie, and daughter, Melody, for their continued support throughout her show career with Gothic. She would also like to say thank you to those who were there for him day in and day out over different times in his illustrious career. Melissa Moore, Lionel Ferreira, Clark Klaus, and most importantly, standing in the middle of Freedom Hall tonight, Martin Teeter. In Joan's words, Martin is not only an amazing talent who has trained Gothic to perfection, but he has also put the fun back into showing. We work second direction with a beautiful ambassador to the American Saddlebred, the retirement tonight of World Champion Gothic Revival. You know, it's been said that when a true champion gets to the end of the road, they find another gear and carry on no matter what. Gothic Revival has done this repeatedly. You heard it mentioned earlier in our script. Over the years, this big stallion has battled colic, had numerous injuries, and even several major surgeries, enough to bring most of the show horse's career to an end. But not Gothic. With his big heart and desire to show, he continually bounced back, ready and willing to give it his all again and again. Like the Energizer Bunny, he just doesn't know when to stop. With that being said, a true champion also knows when to bow out. And since Gothic won't make that decision, his owner has made it for him. Leaving a mark that few will ever forget, Gothic will now make the transition from the life of a show horse to that of a full-time breeding horse. Gothic Revival will stand at stud at Aurora Farms in Baghdad, owned and operated by Joan and Charlie's daughter, Melody. The farm specializes in providing outstanding individualized care to the residents and already home to many mares that have been to Gothic's court, including world champion Sultry Heiress and reserve world champion Intoxicating Conversation. The Adlers invite everyone here tonight, all of Gothic Revival's friends and admirers, to join them at Martin Teeter's stabling area immediately following tonight's final presentation in this hallowed venue. Continue the celebration of his lifetime achievement for an amazing show horse and a much beloved friend. Ladies and gentlemen, as they gather here in the middle of Freedom Hall, one more salute as we unhook for the final time, the beautiful Gothic Revival says goodbye to competition and Freedom Hall. The harness coming off for the last time. As pretty as American Saddlebred can be, a very, very nice stallion, very well-mannered, well-behaved, and all show horse. Stable halter slips on and one trip around Freedom Hall, and then off to the breeding shed at the Aurora Farm in Baghdad, Kentucky. When you see him here tonight, you can just imagine him as a baby colt, a blonde mane and tail, 4 white socks, a white strip in his face. He must have been the most beautiful colt. Martin Teeter makes that final trip around Freedom Hall, ladies and gentlemen. Trimmed in white, bittersweet to call it a career when this beautiful stallion wants to continue to show and show and show. That's right, stand up and salute a world champion from his 3-year-old campaign and an ambassador for the American Saddlebred breed. The beautiful Gothic Revival makes his way home. Martin, thank you very much. A salute to Freedom Hall, where he was crowned World Champion 3-year-old and Reserve World Champion Amateur Fine Harness. Melody will take the lead. He will go to her farm in Baghdad, Kentucky. Melody, stop at that gate just one time as we say goodbye to a legend in the American Saddlebred business. How's that for a final look at a world champion? It's Gothic Revival's final visit to our show record. Thanks very much for being a part of our program and the retirement of a very, very special horse. Certainly hope you all have a special memory of the great Gothic Revival. It's been my pleasure to sit in. Peter Doubleday here to take you through. Pete, thanks very much.